Word wizard and a word wizard cat, looking up words just like that.
All right, word wizards, let's get started. Our learning target this time is going to be, I can deepen my understanding of a text by noticing signposts and applying my comprehension strategies in a meaningful way. This time, you're going to know you're successful if you can use our new signpost called word gaps. There it is, word gaps. So when you're reading and the author uses a word or phrase you don't know, you should stop and ask yourself, do I know this word from somewhere else? Does this seem like technical talk for experts or this topic? And can I find clues in the sentence to help me understand the word? We're really going to focus on this anchor question today. Can I find clues in the sentence to help me understand the word? That answer is going to help you decide if you need to look the word up or if you can keep reading for more information. You may even figure out the word yourself. Remember this week, Word Wizard, we're going to work on the following clues in the text that can help you fill the gap. First, we're going to look for synonyms near or around the word that's kind of a gap in your understanding. These words can be found after the word gap and a comma. Sometimes they can be in the form of examples that are in the word gap sentence. Your clues also might be antonyms, and they can also be found near the word gap, following a conjunction. Those are those connector words like but or however. They're going to show something as the opposite of the word that you don't understand. All right, word wizards, go ahead and watch as I give it a try and listen to my thinking because it might help you with yours. Here we go. Who were the first people to live in the land we call Colorado? Artifacts tell us that Indians have lived here for more than 15,000 years. Look at the map to see how they migrated or moved here. Migrated. I know I've heard that word before, but I'm not sure what it means. So this is a gap in my understanding. It's a word I don't know. So I'm going to ask myself that question. What clues can I find in the sentence? Well, let's see. I notice there's a comma right there after migrated. It says comma or moved here. Let me reread the sentence. Look at the map to see how they migrated or moved here. I remember synonyms can be found after a comma, so I wonder if migrate means to move here. Look at the map to see how they moved here. That would make sense, so I think I can keep reading. There is more that we do not know about these early people than we do now. We call them prehistoric, which means before written history. They had a spoken language, but they did not write it down. This word prehistoric, it's in boldface, so the author must think it's pretty important, but I'm not sure what it means, so I'm going to ask myself, this might be technical talk that the writer is using, but I'm still going to look for some clues around it to help me. Let's see. I notice there's another comma after my word, and it says, which means before written history. Ooh, I see pre, and that means before. So I wonder if historic means written history. Prehistoric, which means before written history. I think I'm right. I think I filled my gap. Let's keep reading. Prehistoric people did not have letters or newspapers prehistoric people did not leave letters or newspapers behind, but they did have drawings on canyon walls. Very cool. I'm going to stop there, and before I go to the next page, I'm going to read this little text box here at the bottom. What's in a name? Some historians say Christopher Columbus was the first to call the native people Indians. This is because he thought he landed near India. Today, we use the words American Indians or Native Americans. Native means born in a place. In their own languages, native people called themselves a name that meant the people. Just like prehistoric, I see this word native is in boldface, so it must be pretty important, and I'm not quite sure I know what that means. But I do know that in the rest of the sentence it says means born in a place. So native is born in a place. So if they're Native Americans, they were born in this place called America. So born in a place must mean something similar to native. All right, cool. All right, I left on the last page with the word they. They also left artifacts and campsites. Archaeologists study the places where early people lived and the tools they used. This helps us learn about early people. Here's a heading. Paleo Indians. The first people to live here probably came in small family groups. Archaeologists called them Paleo Indians. Paleo means ancient or very old. Paleo Indians were always traveling in search of food. Early groups camped near rivers and streams to be close to water. There were also plants and animals near the water. This made hunting animals and gathering plants for food easier. Hold on, I'm going to stop before I go on. I had to figure out this word paleo up here in the heading, and it's in boldface, yet I have no clue what it means. It's a word gap, so I'm going to stop and ask myself, are there any clues around here that could help me figure it out? I notice it says paleo means ancient or very old. Ooh, so I think ancient or very old must be synonyms for paleo. So the ancient Indians were always traveling in search of food. Ancient Indians, very cool. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Paleo Indians followed wild animals into the mountains in the summer. They made clothing out of animal hides. They also gathered seeds, berries, nuts, and roots to eat. People who move around to hunt and gather food are called hunter-gatherers. Sure glad I didn't have to hunt and gather my food, and I can just go on to Safeway. Sure is a lot easier. They had a tough life. So let's review, word wizards. I want you to get your fill the gap signpost sheet, and we're going to do some recording of what our thinking was. This is a really good way to share your thinking about this signpost. All right, everybody ready? I'm going to do some writing of my thinking here, and you can do it in this section too. Make sure you're in the Word Wizard video section. So my first word gap happened at the word prehistoric. And so when I look at that word prehistoric, my clues that were after it, remember it came after the comma? It said comma, which means before written I better spell it right, history. All right, so I'm going to just do some turning here, word wizards. Give me just a second. There's my clue, comma, which means before written history. So you can write that on your paper too. Now, I'm going to type in the meaning. So I think the meaning then of prehistoric is before written history. My sentence really kind of told me what it meant. There we go. So you can fill that in on your sheet. Another word that I stopped to look at the meaning of was this word native. So the word native, my clue around it, it said means born in a place. So you can fill that in your sheet too. That was our clue. Means born in a place. It was right from my text. It said that. So my meaning, I was really reading about Native Americans. So I'm going to write Native Americans. I'm going to spell it right though. Americans were born in America. Better make sure though that I put this down here in the right spot. They were born in America. And this clue here goes there. My last word that I looked at, word wizards, was paleo. I really had never heard that word before. And the clue that I found around it, it said means ancient, comma, or very old. That's what it said right there in my text. So the meaning then that I have for paleo is ancient. So those were those ancient Indians that lived in Colorado. I'm sure you're noticing that I spelled ancient incorrectly. Let me fix that. All right, let's get ancient over here. All right, so at this point, your word wizard fill the gap sheet should look just like mine. So we worked on finding the clues in our text. A lot of times they were synonyms, and that helped us to come up with a meaning for the word so that we could keep right on reading. All right, word wizards, now it's time for you to give it a try. You're going to come to this section right here on your fill the gap signpost sheet where it says try it, hyperdoc. And as I read aloud this next section, you can feel free to pause it as many times as you want to. I want you to be on the lookout for these three words: archaic, maize, and atlatl. You're going to look for some clues in the text. Remember to look for commas, look for examples, look for those synonyms or antonyms, and you're going to write the clues here. Then you're going to think, what is the meaning of this word? And kind of test it out in the sentence to see if it makes sense to you. All right, word wizards, here you go. Give it a try. Archaic Indians. Over time, the Plano people's way of life became more advanced. Historians refer to these people as archaic Indians. The word archaic means old or early. As the land grew drier, grasslands disappeared. Without the grasslands, large animals began to disappear. It was the beginning of a very long drought. Droughts happen when the air remains dry and there is very little rainfall. A changing way of life. Archaic Indians were different from Paleo Indians. They gathered more plants and did not move around as much. Instead, they set up camps. This was where they came to hunt elk, deer, and bighorn sheep. When the animals moved, archaic hunters moved too. Year after year, hunters returned to the same camps. Archaic camps have been found in the foothills of the Front Range. Archaic Indians also hunted in groups. Using 10 to 20 people, they chased animals into narrow canyons or blinds. A blind is a place with no way out. Hunters could easily kill many animals by trapping them. What do you think? Scientists do not know what happened to Paleo Indians. Some think they hunted and killed most of the animals without food. They had to move or go hungry. Other scientists think a drought killed most large animals. Many large animals became extinct. Extinct animals are no longer found living on Earth. What do you think happened to Paleo Indians? Atlatl. One of the most important archaic tools was the atlatl. An atlatl is a spear thrower that was about 18 inches long. Hunters attached a spear to the hooked end of the atlatl. Then hunters threw the atlatl forward, releasing the spear. The atlatl allowed hunters to throw their spears with much greater force and speed. All right, word wizards, I'm going to stop. Remember, you can replay this page as many times as you need to help you find the clues for the words and help you fill in the gap. Learning new skills. Near the end of the archaic period, people learned new skills to make their lives better. Many groups began growing maize, an early type of corn. Some even used stones to grind seeds into flour. Some archaic Indians began growing food instead of just collecting it. They spent more time in places where they could grow crops. They also continued to hunt animals for meat. Archaeologists think late archaic Indians were the first basket makers in the area. They boiled plants in water to make them softer and easier to bend. Pit houses. Archaic people lived in pit houses. A pit house was built by digging a hole or pit in the ground. This formed the floor and the bottom half of the walls. The people placed poles over the pit at an angle. They covered the poles with branches, grasses, or animal hides. What happened to archaic Indians? Archaic Indians lived in the land we call Colorado for thousands of years. Some of them left the region. Those who stayed mixed with two new groups that moved here. Scientists call one of these groups the ancestral Puebloans. They call the other group the Fremont people. What do you think it was like to live in a pit house? I wouldn't like it. I think it would be kind of messy and dirty and lots of bugs. What do you think, fourth graders? Remember, you can go ahead and stop. Look for clues to help you with those word gaps, and then make sure you record what you think they mean on your sheet.
And that's word wizard, word wizard, wizard, and a cat.
Meow.